She stood at the crowded terminal, her suitcase clutched tightly in one hand, her phone blinking low battery warnings in the other. No one would believe it if they weren't watching it unfold in real time. Security had just escorted her out, right there in front of dozens of strangers, like she didn't belong, like she was a problem, all because of a misunderstanding, or maybe a judgment made too quickly. Her clothes were simple, her ticket looked suspicious to them, and when she tried to explain, no one cared to listen. Just like that, she was told to leave. The whispers started before she even made it to the exit. People stared. Some shook their heads. Others pulled out their phones, recording parts of it like it was some kind of drama playing out for their entertainment. What they didn't know, what none of them could have imagined, was that this woman they were dismissing wasn't just anybody. She wasn't trying to sneak into a first-class lounge or bluff her way through a private gate. She was simply waiting for someone, for him. Her husband wasn't late. He was just arriving a little differently than most. 30,000 feet above them, cutting through the sky in silence, his private jet was minutes from touching down. And when it did, well, everything was about to change. For her, for the staff who threw her out, and for every single person who assumed she didn't belong. Because when the stairs rolled out and he stepped off that jet, all eyes would turn. But by then, the truth would be impossible to ignore. What happened next? Let's just say, no one at that airport forgot it, and neither will you. Her name was Elena, quiet, polite, and not the kind of person who liked drawing attention. She'd never been in a situation like this before, thrown out of an airport without explanation, without even a chance to speak. It all happened so fast. One minute she was sitting near the lounge entrance, checking her messages, and the next, 2 staff members were standing over her, asking questions she didn't understand. They didn't believe she was supposed to be there. She tried showing her digital boarding pass. She mentioned the private hangar. But they only saw a woman alone, dressed in simple jeans and a hoodie, carrying a designer bag that, ironically, made them even more suspicious. What they didn't know was that Elena wasn't just a traveler. She was waiting for a connecting flight, one that wasn't listed on the usual screens. Her husband, Marcus, had arranged everything. A short layover, a private pickup. He'd done it countless times before, but this time he hadn't warned her how people might react. He didn't think he needed to. Marcus wasn't just a businessman. He was the kind of man people read about in articles but rarely saw in person. Quietly powerful, wealthy in a way that didn't show off, but didn't need to. The jet was his, the schedule was his, and Elena, for all the judgment people threw her way, was his world. As she stood outside, cold wind brushing her hair across her face, she tried calling him. No signal. She didn't panic, yet, but the looks people gave her stung. They thought she was lying, that she made it all up. And as minutes passed, and no jet appeared in the sky, even Elena started to wonder. What if something had gone wrong? Elena paced near the edge of the drop-off zone, gripping her phone like it might suddenly light up with answers. Her heart pounded louder with each passing minute. The airport staff who had kicked her out were now watching from inside, occasionally pointing, still whispering. One of them even laughed. She pretended not to notice, but inside, the humiliation burned. Every glance felt heavier than the last. She wasn't angry, not yet. She was still trying to understand why they treated her like a problem instead of a person. Back in the terminal, a young intern named Maya, who worked part-time for guest services, had witnessed the whole scene. Something about it didn't sit right with her. Elena didn't look like someone causing trouble. She looked scared, confused. Maya had tried to step in earlier, but her supervisor shut her down quickly. "Not your concern," they said. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that a mistake had been made. She quietly pulled out her tablet and started looking into the schedule for the private hangar. Meanwhile, in the air, Marcus's jet was circling. There'd been a delay, airspace restrictions, something about a medevac emergency landing. The pilot had explained, but Marcus hadn't paid much attention. He was too focused on Elena. He'd sent a message, but now her phone wasn't picking up. He knew she hated situations like this. She didn't ask for this life, he brought her into it. And now, he feared, she was paying for the image people had of who he was. Back on the ground, a local blogger who happened to be filming content nearby had caught footage of the security incident and was already drafting a post. Woman removed from airport gate. Was she really who she claimed to be? It was gaining attention fast, and no one knew yet just how wrong they were. Elena could feel the weight of every passing second. Her hands were cold, her battery was dead, and the buzz of distant engines only made her chest tighten. Each sound made her look up, hoping to see the jet, his jet, cutting through the clouds. But nothing. Just commercial planes taxiing, lights blinking in the distance, and that same empty stretch of sky. She started to question herself. Asterisk, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I got the time wrong. Asterisk, but deep down she knew she hadn't. Marcus never slipped on things like this. Inside the airport, Maya had found something. The jet was on the manifest. Private arrival approved, scheduled for Gate 4A at the executive terminal. But someone had failed to notify ground security, and that meant Elena's name hadn't been on any asterisk visible list. It was a small error, but it changed everything. And now that blogger's video was gaining traction, comments rolling in, some mocking, some outrage, but all curious. Who is she? Is this real? Gold digger caught lying? One comment even claimed to recognize Marcus's name, linking to an old article about a tech billionaire's secretive marriage. Suddenly, people were digging and judging. Outside, Elena heard sirens, not emergency ones, but the kind used for escort vehicles. She turned, her heart leaping. A black SUV pulled up near the restricted access gate, and two men in suits stepped out, scanning the area. Her instinct told her this was connected, but no one spoke to her. No one acknowledged her. It was like she was invisible. Again. And then, finally, the distant sound of a jet engine began to swell. Not a commercial roar, a quieter, sharper hum. She looked up slowly as the silhouette appeared in the sky, approaching from the west. This was it. But what happened next would turn everything upside down. The jet touched down with a smooth, quiet glide, its sleek body reflecting the early evening light. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Finally, but something felt off. The black SUV remained parked by the restricted gate, the suited men now talking into earpieces and glancing her way. Yet still, no one approached her, no greeting, no gesture to say, asterisk, this is for you, asterisk, and Marcus hadn't stepped out yet. Her relief started to twist into confusion. She stepped forward cautiously, but the security line was still closed off. From the private jet, only one figure descended. It wasn't Marcus. It was a woman. Elegant, tall, dressed in tailored travel wear and large sunglasses. She moved with the kind of confidence that made people step aside without asking questions. The suited men met her halfway, greeting her with practiced respect. Elena froze. Who was she? Why was she stepping off Marcus's jet? The whispers from earlier had died down, but now new eyes were turning to her. Someone inside the terminal pointed from the window. Maya, still behind the desk, stared in shock at her tablet. That same jet registration number was listed under Marcus's name. There was no mistake. But the manifest had been updated only minutes ago. 2 passengers now listed, 1 name removed. Elena's. Back online, the blogger's video was trending. The latest update. A blurry photo of the mystery woman stepping off the jet. Captioned, "Not his wife." Elena took a step back, her mind spinning. She trusted Marcus. She had to. But nothing about this was making sense. The silence, the new passenger, the missing call, and suddenly Elena realized this wasn't just about airport staff judging her or a delay in landing. Something bigger was unfolding, and she was no longer sure whose story she was actually a part of. Elena stood frozen, her eyes locked on the woman now surrounded by airport staff. Every instinct screamed for her to walk away, to disappear before more people started whispering. But something told her to stay. She needed answers. Just then, her phone buzzed back to life, clinging to its last few seconds of power. One message had finally come through. It was from Marcus. "I'm landing now. Don't move. I'm not on the main jet." Her breath caught. Asterisk not on the main jet asterisk before she could process it. A second, smaller plane touched down on the private runway, barely noticeable compared to the sleek jet that had just landed. The doors opened quickly this time, and Marcus stepped out, rushed, clearly frustrated. The moment he saw Elena, relief washed over his face. He came straight to her, arms out. "I'm so sorry. I had to make a last-minute change. I sent the decoy jet ahead. Security reasons. I thought you got my message." He glanced toward the other jet. "She's not who you think. She's a client. We had to fly her out discreetly because of press. I didn't know they'd remove your name from the manifest." Elena blinked, stunned. Everything that had happened, the humiliation, the judgment, the isolation, had been triggered by a chain of assumptions and a simple failure to communicate. But before she could speak, a voice interrupted them. Maya had come outside, tablet in hand. "Sorry," she said, nervous. "But there's something else." She showed Marcus the screen. "Someone tried to leak your wife's personal info to that blogger. The post was scheduled. I stopped it just in time." Marcus's face darkened. Elena looked between them, realization setting in. This hadn't just been a misunderstanding, it had been planned. Someone inside the airport wanted to make her look like she didn't belong. And they almost succeeded. Marcus didn't waste a second. He made a call right there on the tarmac, his voice low but firm. Within minutes, internal airport security was alerted, and an investigation was launched. Elena stood quietly beside him, still trying to process it all. She wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of being misjudged for how she looked, tired of people assuming she didn't deserve the life she had built with him. But as Marcus wrapped his arm around her, she felt a quiet strength return. She had stayed, and now the truth was coming out. Maya, the intern, was thanked personally and given a direct contact to Marcus's firm. He said someone with instincts like hers shouldn't be stuck behind a desk being told not to care. The blogger, meanwhile, had already started backtracking, editing their post with a correction, but it was too late. Screenshots had spread. Still, Elena knew that story didn't matter anymore, not the online version. The real story had played out on that runway, in front of the people who mattered. Before they left, one of the security staff, one of the same who had asked her to leave earlier, approached quietly. "I'm sorry," he said, avoiding her eyes. "We were wrong." Elena nodded. She didn't need more than that. As their car pulled away toward the hangar, Elena looked out the window one last time. She thought about how fast people decide who you are, based on your clothes, your silence, your skin, your posture. But the truth, belonging isn't about proving yourself to strangers. It's about knowing who you are and who stands beside you when the noise gets loud. And sometimes the jet that really matters doesn't land first. It's the one that brings clarity, truth, and the people who never let go of your hand when it counts.